We did have like a one-on-one chat and see how we can collaborate. Um, but it was beneficial to actually to talk to her, so I appreciate that part.
Good.
Hi, Kenny. I'm gonna
Yeah.
show you all how cute my cat is, and you can enjoy my kitten as well. A little tour.
All right.
Can you
Oh,
see her up there in that bowl?
Oh Lord.
oh,
Isn't she so cute?
she's got that whole shelf to herself.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
sorry.
That's cute.
When I'm looking up over there, it's because she's just so cute.
So are
Oh,
you in the farmhouse tonight or
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Fun fact for you, I have DSL internet out here in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I called because I use Google Meet a lot to meet with my clients. I only started using Zoom for this platform because, I was getting hundreds of people signing up and I needed to be able to, most people know Zoom better than Google Meet, and I didn't want to give access into my Google to the public. Um, so I got Zoom. But my Google Meet calls with my clients, I can't be on video. I'm glitching out. My voice is glitching out. Um, and I had my friend Tony, who I, go back and forth from. She's a former like World of Warcraft top 10 player, like very into tech. And she, taught me how to run a speed test, and I was getting 9 megabytes per second. And I'm like, I don't know what that even means. Um, and
Way
then I
slow.
ran it
yeah, that's
after I ran it when she was here, probably a month ago. I ran it on Friday because I was in back-to-back meetings. I was getting one.
Mm.
And I just before the call uploaded an Excel file to a client, and it took 5 minutes, and it was like maybe a 10 line, 10 column Excel report. So I did call, and they have fiber available in my area, so I'm getting a big upgrade to rural living.
all
Oh,
right.
you're getting a lot of
Nice.
updates.
Upgrades.
High-speed internet and chicken eggs.
Well, I'm only gonna get 50 megabytes per second because I don't know, I'm just gonna see how that goes. I live here by myself. I don't have a lot of tech, so we'll see. Um, Here's Elijah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
he's
think Nate was typing in the chat on Discord if you want to send the link in the discussion there.
oh, I will. I was plugging my phone in because I'm using my mobile hotspot because it's better than DSL.
I got you.
Uh,
I didn't get to say it before, but what's up, everybody? Denise, Gary, Elijah, good to see you guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man,
Good,
good. I like
good.
the NASA sweater.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. We just landed, so I'm still in my um plane garb. Yeah, so yeah.
Hey, that's still drip.
Yeah, it's a nice
Yeah,
piece,
yeah.
H&M.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that'll do it.
Hey, and it lines up with the Artemis mission that launched today.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. It reminded me a little bit of
conspiracy theorist over here.
oh
I would have never
yeah, say your
guessed.
piece, say your piece.
Um, I think it was a big April Fool's joke.
Oh.
I know you all think I'm crazy. Nate called me out on it a while back and said, "Do you live out in the woods because you're like
Oh.
unstable?" Anyway,
Uh,
anyway, I digress. That's not important. Um, all right. Oh, we have people starting to join. It seems like my email takes a few for it to get reached.
Well, that's fine.
Mary, if you could pop on your camera. Thank you. You don't have to stay on camera. I just like to do a little human verification. Um, all right. Thank you for
Yeah.
being patient on that link.
I was gonna say before more people hop in, and I lose my train of thought. I was gonna say the sweater reminds me a lot of a New York native celebrity, Pop Smoke.
Yeah,
Yeah, he used to say, "Shoot for the stars, aim for the moon." So whenever I
mhm.
think of NASA, I'm like, yeah, that's a good kind of tagline.
That's cool.
Hi. All right. I guess let's start with our intros and then we'll get into it and see who else joins. Who wants to go first? And drop your links in the chat too as you go.
All right, everybody, not including your house. Do you have a net worth of $1 million? Would you like one? Have you made it that far already? Then let's set a goal for 10 million. I am a financial coach and I help people with a vague plan and loose collection of savings accounts put those accounts to work in a tiered savings system that keeps your money in your now bucket while growing your tomorrow bucket so that you're not forced into bad decisions at the wrong time. My name's Gary Darley, and I'm with Legis Financial Partners.
Welcome back, Gary.
Glad to be here.
Who's next? Guys,
What? Okay, I can go next.
don't make me do it. Okay.
Hi, this is my first meeting, and my name is Pauline. I have a consulting company, um, and I offer operational transformational services that help businesses of all sizes meet their revenue goals. My background is in consulting. I used to be with the big four consulting companies, and my specialty is really around pricing, strategy, business planning, and executing operational process improvements in the organization. And even though I worked mostly in high tech, I can help companies in most industries. And I'm glad to be here.
Where are you from, Pauline?
Austin, Texas.
Awesome. Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, who's next?
I'll go next because we just left Austin, Texas, and we live in Austin, Texas too. So hi, Pauline.
Hi.
Yeah, it might be some alignment. My name's Elijah Cheeks. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm the owner of CBR Capital, and we help business owners scale without risking their assets or their revenue. Right now, we're running a promotion where we're helping students get six figures in funding in 90 days, or we coach them for free until they do. My ask for today's meeting is that you introduce me to anyone that would be excited about going to Costa Rica and learning about how to buy businesses with none of their money. We are running a retreat. I have only one seat left, and it's May 18th to the 22nd. So I'll put information about the retreat in there. And if you know anyone that you think might vibe with purpose-driven owners who are scaling their companies past 10 million, then I would love to connect to them. That's it. Oh, you can also connect with me at elijahcheeks.com.
Awesome. Welcome back. I wish I could go to Costa Rica next time. Sedona. Anyway, who's next?
I can jump in here. So good evening, everybody. My name is Kenny Rodriguez, calling from Connecticut. And my company is Atlas Studios. And so we specialize in primarily three things, being marketing, branding, and development, both on the practical side and the digital side, right? So essentially entrepreneurs looking to improve something, experiment to build something new that complements their business, or overall just come up with a strategy to expand. We help them in all those facets. So essentially, if you can imagine it, we'll do the rest.
Welcome back, Kenny.
Good to be
All
back.
right. Who's next? If my connection goes in and out, Nate, Kenny, will you back me up? Did Nate? Oh, there you are.
Yeah,
Okay.
we got you.
I can go next.
Thank you. Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Habrisky. I am the CEO and founder of Vita Sana Wellness. I work at the intersection of wellness and technology and human transformation. I've been building community and platforms over the past nearly 2 decades here, and really we focus a lot on high quality care and aligned partnerships and collaborations between wellness providers and people who can serve them. And my background spans through coaching, large scale wellness events, and working with clients both locally as well as globally. And I'm really passionate about ensuring that the wellness space is not so much of the Wild West as it has been over this rapid expansion that it's had over the past few years. And so that's where our platform comes in. And I also do private mentorship for people who are really working at a higher level in life, who have a bit of a different lifestyle because they have pretty big jobs and pretty big work ahead of them. So those are the people I focus with, and I'm happy to be here. It's my first time.
Happy to have you.
Thanks.
All right. Who is next? Drop your link in the chat also, or links.
I can go next.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Denise, and 20 to 30% of female entrepreneurs are stuck and overwhelmed. So I, as a business coach and an execution coach, I help overwhelmed moms break the cycle of starting and quitting by rebuilding consistency and self-trust so they can actually follow through on creating the life they want. So if you know anybody, you can send them my way. Also, um, I am building my network so that way I can be a one-stop shop and be a strategic partner where I can refer people and have an area where my client doesn't have to do as much work as it would take for an entrepreneur to do.
I like the stat opener.
Thanks. That was
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks,
Yeah.
Nate.
Um, all right. Who's next?
I'll go ahead. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Andrew Henderson, and I am in the financial space. I work with individuals and entrepreneurs to help them with just kind of tax advantage strategies, as well as helping them to navigate the roller coaster of the market we currently are facing. So I can provide downside protection for the market so that if the market were to drop up to 40%, you wouldn't lose a dime. And so a lot of individuals and entrepreneurs are finding that to be valuable because it still allows them to participate in the market. And so I'm just really looking for conversations with people and looking to learn more about people's businesses.
Oh, Abby, you're muted.
You're on mute.
Good to see you again, Andrew, is what I was trying to say. Who would like to go next? Jeremy, can I call on you?
Yeah, I can go.
Cool.
I, I I was having trouble with the link, so I
I
didn't
know.
hear the intro to this
Oh,
introductory exercise. But
who you
uh,
are, where you're from, and what you do.
yeah, perfect. So yeah, my name's Jeremy Haddock. I'm in San Francisco recently. Um, and I am the co-founder of a company called Promise Kept Company. We're a B2B sales agency, um, post-revenue and profitable. We work with specifically IT companies, helping them connect to other businesses who need IT services. And the reason we do it primarily through cold calling, but also other channels like LinkedIn and email. And then the reason I wanted to come to this event was we're looking to bring on a third co-founder because the most important thing for us right now is just additional hustle, good energy, good vibes to add fuel to the fire. We have a machine that works, and we just want to, run it as fast as we can. So yeah, just looking for anyone else who's marketing minded and willing to work together, ideally in person, but work closely together to help scale it.
That's awesome. Drop your links in the chat. I've got one more person that just came to the waiting room. Um, Hi Sarah. If you don't mind, just pop your camera on real quick, and I will explain why I do that to the group. Hi. I'm gonna put you right on the spot. Welcome. We were just going through intros, so who you are, where you're from, and what you do, and we're like right at the end. So if you wouldn't mind, just tell us who you are.
Sorry, you know how it is. Like everything like just went and like beeped right out on my computer because it's
Mhm.
5 o'clock before a long weekend. Hello, I'm Sarah. I own Profits and Coffee Bookkeeping in Edmonton. I found you guys on Eventbrite. And sorry, what was your other question?
Where are you from?
Edmonton. Not originally,
Edmonton.
but that's where I
Is
am.
that Canada?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
awesome. Nate.
Drum roll. What's up, everybody? I'm the founder of Legend Initiative. My name is Nate Dubois, and I'm from New Jersey. We shape brand reputation and make companies transcend culture. So, if you want to become a legend in your industry, we're usually a team you work with.
Awesome. Always last but never least. I think that might be your secret weapon. At least in this group. I don't know how you do it in other networking events,
I don't know,
but
Elijah. I don't mind the other group.
you do you go last in the other group?
Nah,
In
He
Elijah's
goes
group?
I go.
he goes third to last consistently. He's like in a room of 30, he's number 27. So he's very good at actually positioning himself at the end in every
Well,
networking
that's like
event
a
that I
hand
go to.
raising deal,
Yeah.
right? So like yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Should all take notes. All right, I'm Abigail, your host, full charge accountant and remote CFO, founder of the Business Kickstart Accelerator, which is a community-based platform for learning financial skills for new entrepreneurs. Um, Host of this event, and I will drop my links in the chat. And just to mention right out of the gate, we have a Discord channel, which I will also drop the link in, which um, hopefully there's no problem with the link going forward, but a quick way to get that link would be in that chat. Um, in April, new month, we are talking about grit. And I was actually on a couple different calls in February that led me to this discussion. One of them was with Elijah, who recommended the book Grit. Um, and I've sent a YouTube link out just a couple hours ago with a free listen. It's a 9-hour listen and not necessarily recommended, but it might bring some interesting insights into the discussion. Um, so I guess I didn't really have a discussion prompt for tonight. I've kind of been listening to the book. If anybody wants to start out with commentary, what they think about it. I guess I could say, how do you value the difference between grit and talent? Hmm.
I think that's a great question in lots of forums. In sports, I think about the story Rudy, where he had tons of grit and very little talent, and his entire career he played two games or like two downs. Like it was just a story of where if there's absolutely no talent, and you put in maximum grit, I think I don't know if it's this book or another book, but it's like a math equation, right? It's like 2 times 5 can only get to 10. Like he can't get to 25 without level 5 talent. So I do think there's value in talent. And I think when people lean into their talent um, with grit, amazing things happen. I think when people are talented and they have no grit, you might see some spikes and ups and downs and they get lucky. It's kind of like motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing type of thing. It's like there's a lack of consistency. And I do think that, if you just have a little bit of talent, you're not like talent deficient and you put grit in, you're great. But I think grit is, I don't want to say more important than talent, but talent without grit, is spotty and inconsistent. That would be my perception of it. And I
I
define
love
grit as
that.
like work ethic and being able to overcome obstacles and handling challenges for those of you who haven't read the book, right? Or heard the term. So that's what I define as grit, and talent would be like natural born talent, like maybe, public speaking skills or whatever the case may be.
I think that's a great thing to add into this question. Like, what does grit mean to you? Nate, go ahead.
So, one, had to read this book in college. Uh, Not gonna say I read all of it, but definitely use Spark Notes. But one of the conversations that came up in our class while I was in school was determining grit. And for me, it was always about discipline and like kind of like I don't give a fuck factor in terms of like I don't give a fuck how I feel this day. I'm gonna keep going. I don't care who's better than me. I'm gonna keep going. I don't care. It's just like that natural. I like to say the Kobe mentality, right? That Mamba mentality of no matter what, I'm a try to get an edge, even if it hurts, even if I'm going through pain, even if it feels like every day I'm failing, whatever. Like it's always like that mentality of like I can still win. And when it comes to talent, I feel like talent, obviously, people are born with natural gifts. But to what Elijah was saying, if you don't kind of hone that talent, you kind of fall off, right? You can look at, for me, I'm a sports guy. You can look at I like basketball. You can look at the kids that are doing very, very well in the grades 6 and 7, right? But sometimes they're too good and they fall off in terms of hustling. They lose that hunger. And then eventually, when they get to college level, right, the person that wasn't as skilled or as talented caught up to them and even surpassed them in some instances because they put in that work, because they had grit, because they always thought I can win by any means necessary.
I'm loving this topic. Gary.
So every person in this room is better at something than every other person on the planet naturally. They have a gift of some kind and they can excel above anyone else in that gift. And that's talent. And you can't replace it. Um, but if you don't develop it and if you don't push through and you don't continue, um, to Nate's point, that talent is not going to grow and somebody else can surpass you in that natural capacity. So to me, talent is an ability that you have that you can do that comes easily. It's a strength. Um, and grit is the persistence in developing that strength to a point that it can grow. And when you have the combination of the two, you know, really, really amazing people on this planet have, I think, more grind capacity than the rest of us. Is they just keep going. They have the grit to just keep going, to keep doing. And I think that's where the magic happens, is when you have that combination of your strength plus the determination to keep going.
Kenny.
Yeah, that kind of segues really well into the point I was going to make. Kind of following this vein, I think in terms of the difference between grit and talent, right? I know that there's a bunch of talented people throughout history who didn't quite get to the point they should have because they didn't have enough grit, right? For example, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the biopic of Dolomite, starring Eddie Murphy. He played like a real life comedian who did a couple of, like small records, tried to make a B movie. But he never quite got there. You know what I mean? He was funny, sure, he was talented, but the level of grit that he had when he hit those setbacks is like, well, I guess we're just back to square one, right? He would backtrack a lot. And you see throughout the movie, they do a lot of retakes and reshoots, and he's kind of striving and pushing, but he never quite got there because his level of grit didn't match his level of talent. Um, so on the flip side of that, still following that movie trend, I feel like a really good example of grit would be John Wick. You know how they describe him in the movie, right? A man of pure will, commitment, right? Sheer tenacity. Um, and that's how I like to approach business, right? As much as I'm naturally gifted at, being conversational, talking to others, listening, I feel like a lot of that is complemented by that persistence, right? That Gary mentioned. Um, and once you combine those two things, you can absolutely use that grit, that persistence, that tenacity to cultivate what you're naturally good at, right? And then that leads to expanding your skill set, right? Becoming a professional, gaining experience, and then before you know it, again, leading to Gary's point, you can become the best in the world at whatever it is that you do, whatever your field is. Um, so I'm a huge fan of this conversation, uh, mostly because I can resonate with that. One, the city I'm from, New York, and yeah, I think I really like the points that Gary, Elijah, and Nate made because I know they can kind of follow that vein along with me.
Denise.
So I think everybody just had like the perfect segue to the next person. So thank you, Kenneth. Um, so I believe that, like, I truly believe the talent, people say that they're born with talent, but I think it's more of an exposure of what like their family is putting into them. So if you're born into like a family that believes in entrepreneurship, or you're born into a family that is good with finances, that becomes a natural habit for you and becomes a talent for you because it's basically embedded in you from the beginning. So I don't truly have the belief that somebody is born with a talent. It is more created and orchestrated by the experience that they lived through. And so I believe grit is the same thing. It is also built by the experience and what life throws at you. So I feel like both, it depends on like what life situation has happened to make the person that you are. But I do believe that without grit, even if you're talented, like there's some bunch of people who are ambitious, but they think that it's like almost, I would say like almost an entitlement of like, hey, but I'm smart. Why can't I get it? And there are talented people that have the grit, but when something happens, whether it's like fear of failure or just they get their first no or something bad happens, it's just like, okay, that's it. Like I'm done. I don't want to do this no more. Or it's just like, oh, what's the point of like I just spent all of this money, I spent all of this and nothing has gone with it. So it with the grit part, it becomes to the part where you're hungry and there is nothing else but like the end goal where you want to get. Um, so there is a part where you need to have both to be able to succeed. But I feel like grit in a way will get you to a certain point way further, but adding that talent will, make you a successful person.
Mary.
I would say I'm going to push back a little bit on that one because talent certainly can be born, and people can definitely excel at something and have just quote unquote God given gifts. What they decide to do with it is what grit brings in, because talent is not enough. Talent isn't enough to move the needle forward without the willingness to continuously get back up again after successes, after failures, after everything that's involved with pushing talent forward. Talent can also be learned. So I think that, and expanded upon. So maybe you're not really talented, let's call it, with money. You can certainly learn the skills to become talented with money, or maybe you were born into a wealthy family and that it's just like breathing to you. So it depends on what you do with it. Grit is and determination is what is the marker of success really at the end of the day. I don't know anybody who does not have grit who's done anything worthwhile. If you're going to be pushing yourself to success, it's I've barely and rarely seen, even when it's things are handed to people, they still require a level of grit and determination to continue things to be successful. Things don't work on their own. You have to work them. So I think that's one of the things that a lot of people um, these days with our super fast instant culture that we're part of with social media and always seeing the polished beautiful product, nobody sees the fucking grit and determination that actually went into that. And we're living in, like, a lot of people are living in a fairy tale, and I think that's what stops people before they start, because as soon as it starts to get a little grimy in there, a little gritty, people jump out because they don't think they're capable, they don't think it's for them, whatever the story is. And as a 14-year entrepreneur, I can say I'm still getting my ass kicked all the time. But I get up, and now I just don't take it as so seriously. I'm not crying on the floor anymore. I'm just like, yeah, another day, let's go. Pick it up, shake it off, and just get it moving, because that's what I know I need to do. But that only came from grit. I have a lot of talent in many areas of life, but that's certainly not enough.
I agree with you on, like, I was going to use the language nature versus nurture. I think talent and grit both can come from nature, like genetic predisposition, family lineage. And that's just like genetics. I'm not even talking about being born into wealth, but for example, I come from, generations of accountants, and numbers are just like a thing that I didn't choose. But I'm good at them. Um Grit is definitely something I have been taught both by my family but life experiences. And um, talent will get you so far. But as some of you know, I've been through hell and back in the last 5 years of my life, personally speaking. And without grit, I wouldn't have made it out alive, for one. I wouldn't be continuing to show up here on a consistent basis. So I think that, I mean, I'm sure, I don't want to say, I I want to say you need them both equally, but I feel like there's a little bit more weight in grit because it will propel you, it will hold momentum, consistency will get you there. I mean, if you're born with superhero talent, you might not need as much grit. But I don't think that's the majority of us. And one other thing, Mary, I agree with you with like the social media world, and we talk about this a lot. People share only like the perfection or the end result, and I think it's really important, A, to be aware of it, but also I think I would like to start seeing more of the gritty side of life in my social media feed because seeing everybody's perfect stories isn't really doing much good for my mental health. So I'm trying to stay off those platforms because for one, sometimes it's very clearly fake. And for two, it's like, everybody's got instant overnight success and where's the grit? I'm over here, there's grit behind my success story. And if you're just like at the top overnight, I get sick of following you pretty quickly because it's like, where did you come from? What's the basis of where you're at? Um, anyway, Gary.
Oh, just the comment on superhero talent is every every person on this planet is going to fall flat at some point, and um, it's interesting to watch people who have lived most of their lives without ever getting their front teeth knocked out suddenly fall on their face and crumble, because they haven't developed the grit, the mental fortitude to just brush themselves off and get back up. And it's interesting because you see this play out um, in all forms of life. Um, my stepdad was a forester, and they would intentionally shade the saplings so that they didn't get as much sunlight in some of their test trees, um, to see how they performed over time. And the ones that had to fight for a little bit of light actually were healthier than the ones that were in broad daylight and just growing constantly. The wood was denser. They could take the windstorms. The roots were deeper. Um, so you see this not just in people and talent business, but all across life, everywhere you look. You have to fight a little bit if you're going to be strong enough to keep going.
Fantastic analogy, Gary. Elijah.
Yeah, I love that analogy. It's like building a muscle. Um, my first thought when Mary was actually talking about the stories we tell ourselves that sometimes, hold some people back from, taking the next step and having grit. I was thinking about how in my family we have lots of twins. And it's remarkable if you've ever been around twins because you typically get opposites, even if they're identical, right? One is super successful in one way, the other one is not super successful in that exact same way. One is very charismatic, the other one's like very shy, right? They just tend to be opposites. So I have all these examples of like Karima and Camila and Erica and Alistair and how their lives are so different but they lived in the same house and they had the same experience, but they attach completely different stories to it. And, one of my cousins is dyslexic, right? And she's like, "Oh, if I wasn't dyslexic, then I would have been a nurse just like my sister." And I like, that Richard Branson's dyslexic, right? Like they're like one of the most common things that billionaires have is dyslexia. And I think it's because they have to learn how to solve problems in a different way and handle rejection and being called stupid and all these things that are micro failures that build their grit. And their dyslexia is a gift that doesn't really pay off until later in life, right? And I just think that there's so many little stories like that in nature. That's like another nature type of story, a genetic story, right? That proves, in my opinion, that, grit is more important than talent. Grit is what exposes talent to the world, That's how I would say it. So, yeah, cool stuff.
Well said. Mary.
And so to bring it back to nature, I love this quote because grit's important, but you can also take it too far, right? Like you need to be able to not always be on the grind, not always be on the hustle. And I love the notion that nothing in nature is always blooming. So there's always like a gestation period, right? The seed is not just like all of a sudden a flower. And so I think, as I believe everybody in the room is an entrepreneur, I think that's an important thing to remember, and to remember that you are part of nature. And so it's very unnatural, and that's why you go into burnout. So let's, remember, you're not supposed to be blooming all of the time. And from the genetic standpoint too, I think it's a really interesting for a number of reasons, because you may or may not know, but like my brothers, I have a handful of different things genetically that I am that they're not. I'm Middle Eastern, I'm South Asian, and they're not. That doesn't pop up in their DNA. And they say that we're about somewhere between 7 to 14 generations prior, we have the information, genetic coding in us from all of these generations. So that's why you might have like an irrational fear of, like, I don't know, like fire or something weird that you're like, why the hell nobody else in my family, nothing happened. So I think that's where the grit comes back in, is that maybe just because your family's real talented with numbers, Abigail, does not mean that that's necessarily been passed down to you in your genetic. Maybe it's there, and that switch is just not on for you. It certainly can be learned, but you're probably gonna have to have a lot more determination in order to drive that thing home than maybe your siblings, and maybe one of your siblings does have more of that talent or less of that talent than you do. So all of that's really interesting, and I think also a good reason to give yourself a lot of grace in whatever it is that you're doing. Both of those things about not always blooming, and just knowing that the comparison from you and your family members just makes no sense whatsoever, because you're just not loaded and coded the same way.
I love that. And there's so much truth in it. Denise.
I feel like I should lower my hand because basically it was more of like eventually grit gets to a point where you actually do burn out. So you have to realize when you you have to nurture yourself. So even with flowers, like she was saying, what Mary was saying, when you're putting a seed, if you're constantly watering and just watching it and be like, grow, 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 you're going to kill it. So it gets to a point where you have to actually like slow down and nourish it, and kind of whether grow yourself by giving the skills, by, developing yourself for to create that momentum, to give yourself more of that talent to get you to the next level than just grit. And as Elijah said, I actually have twins, toddlers, and they're completely opposite from each other, like completely. So it is true. And even though like I was raised in a household with my brother, and we're both ambitious, we're both like entrepreneur, the same exact experience was completely different. So while one he will get of like, hey, I'm a public speaker, I'm this, and he's like super like hype. I'm the more of like in the background who will just be like, let me just watch first, see what happens, and then make my move. So it's more like a strategic like chess. So it's just interesting how my parents were like, hey, we're buying a business and both of you are going to work there. I don't care how old you are. How that kind of navigated our life. Like it is important, but we just have two completely way of approaching it. But we're both like we have the grit within us. So the experience itself, it does like make you who you are, but how we actually tell that story as well can kind of make a difference of how we are going to approach the rest of like how we go with business or how we do success as well.
Andrew.
Well, it's funny we're on the twins conversation right now. I'm actually an identical twin, so like identical versus fraternal, I feel like it be a little different. But like I just know generally my brother and I grit wise, like we're constantly battling like who's gonna be on top, who's got more grit, like who's gonna do better. I know twins galore, Nate, for real. Um, but it's really funny because the grit is, neck and neck right there with both of us. But the talents are very different, even especially, as identical twins. I'm sure it's even more different for fraternal twins. But um, thought that was kind of an interesting point. And so, like, especially with my brother and I looking so much alike, I think it really brings back the point that to me, grit and talent are kind of like opposites. Like, talent is naturally meant to be shown, while grit has to be earned and like has to be shown, has to be worked for. And you look at, talent, people with all the talent in the world sometimes just kind of waste it away. Not always, but that's a common theme that you can see among athletes or among musicians or actresses, and people with grit, people that fight for it, are often less likely to just kind of let it slip away. And so to me, it's almost like hot and cold, like you got to balance them. And there's definitely a place for grit and there's a place for talent, kind of like Denise said too. You can't just be gritty and grinding all the time or you're going to get burnt out. And so, in that sense, when you really balance some talent and some grit, I think that's where the magic happens.
That's awesome. Kenny.
Oof. Wow. I'm kind of getting a little bit of flashbacks right now. And this kind of falls into that nature versus nurture argument, right? Because growing up, I didn't really have the easiest childhood, right? And for those of you who don't know, my family and I were actually kicked out of our apartment, and we were living on the streets for about 2 years, in the Bronx. So during that time, you know, naturally as a kid, I would want to always like observe things, see how they work, right? Kind of figure out, piece together the puzzle, um, and kind of like strategize, like, okay, if this is how I put it together, how can I replicate that, right? Even like on the trains, right? You would look at the subway map, like, okay, this is where this connects, this is the next stop. So let me look under the train, right? What do the wheels look like? What do the tracks look like? You know? Um, so keeping that in mind, when my father introduced me to Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, that was when I was able to kind of merge that nature, right, analytical thinking versus this is a new thing that I'm learning that my father's introducing me to, right? Um, and so keeping that in mind, I was always thinking like I want to do something with this, right? And that's kind of where that grit kind of sparked and blossomed because I started to develop the mindset of like it's not about who's gonna let me, right? Because look at where I'm at right now, right? I don't even have a house, right? So it's not about who's gonna let me, it's about who's gonna stop me, you know? Um, and that's kind of started my whole journey, and that's led me to a very fruitful career, and I thank God for that every day.
This is so great. I wanted to just share a thought I had while Mary was talking and Denise was talking, um, like to balance out, before you reach a point of burnout where you're taking so much aligned action, there's an element in there, I believe that I don't know, what I wanted to say was like having grit in your faith in God, universe, source, whatever your spiritual system is, and just having an unwavering faith that it will work out despite what's happening to you or around you or what challenges you face. Um, Nate.
Well, I want to start off by saying I'm also a twin. Sorry, no, I'm not. I just want to be a part of the twin gang. Hopefully, I have twins. But much to what you're saying, Abigail, I think there's a like I struggle with the balance between grit and burnout mostly, and I'm gonna tell you a story, right? So, mind you, I'm a sports guy, right? I sucked at sports when I first started. I was terrible, absolute terrible. Right. So around 11, I started playing basketball. But my boy, Bugs, don't ask why we call him Bugs, but he was so talented. Like, if y'all know who Kyrie is, that was Bugs, right? He was basically finished with the left, dribble, shoot, all this thing. And he was way more talented than me. We're the same age, way more talented. So during the summer, if y'all know about summers in New Jersey, it gets very hot, very, very hot and humid. And it's like 95 degrees. It's humid. We're going outside to the courts and we're staying there from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. All right, sometimes 9 p.m. the whole day. And if it's 89 degrees, if it's 95 degrees, it's going to stay that way until it hits 12 o'clock in the morning, right? And we're just out there and we're just hustling, we're just grinding, and I'm just trying to catch up to them, right? And I was so in love with basketball that the burnout didn't like I didn't process that, right? It was never like I didn't know what burnout was until actually probably like 2 years ago, right? I never experienced that because I have such a passion. So the perseverance was always a passion. Like I wanted to be on a court. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do all these things. So where is it that like, do you think that passion and like purpose and what you're doing kind of negates that burnout feeling?
Scary.
I have a theory on burnout where it is internal alignment with the values that you are reaching for, striving for, versus the internal values that drive you are not always perfectly aligned. Um, and that there's a bit of misalignment that's going on when you're going through burnout. Um, and I think that you can be pretty close to aligned and push yourself too far and end up with kind of your emotional repetition injuries, like frequent injuries, and that can facilitate burnout as well. I think there's a couple pathways. Um, but I wanted to ask a question to the group as well. Have you ever seen the little meme of the guy with the pickaxe and he's like digging towards a gold mine and he's like half a centimeter away from the gold mine and he's like turned around and gives up. Um, when do you guys see that and think, but what if there is no gold mine? What if you're just persisting for nothing but dirt? And where does grit need to shift its focus? What do you guys think about that?
I think everyone's ending with questions that I don't know if rhetorical or not, but I'm going to try and answer some of the ones that have been asked. So with Nate's question about does it matter if your passion is what's pushing you, does it matter if you hit burnout or not? I think about Matthew Kelly's book Off Balance that talks about how in life a lot of people try to look for balance, but there really is no true balance. It's just all life. And, there's a time where it feels good to be up from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. playing basketball, fighting to be better every single day, like you're Naruto trying to become Hokage, right? It doesn't like you just feel great because you're giving it your all. But you don't do that now, right? So you did stop at one point because there is a point where it did stop feeling good, and there is a point where it becomes unproductive because of the season that you're in. So I do think that reflection is actually one of the most um, underrated tools for entrepreneurs specifically, which is why I love the book, The 12-Week Year. Instead of like waiting for a whole year to go by to analyze, doing it quarterly. And one of our best growth spurts as a company, the year we did our first retreat, the year we were, got to get on stage to talk about doing acquisitions, was also the year that I got married. And it was also the year that I made a commitment with my wife that we were going to vacation every quarter. And it was just to reset. We would just go to somewhere where there's a beach, do a lot of meditation, a lot of journaling, a lot of praying, And, the concept was if we really truly believe in what we're building, if we believe in, our faith or whatever, it'll be okay. Like the house won't burn down when we get back, or we'll set it up, or we'll do better because we know we have this amazing trip planned and we'll just, we can create whatever we want. It was like a fun way of like proving to ourselves that we are the creators of our universe. And that was also our best year ever, So I encourage people to strategically reset, even if you're not burnt out, because you can prevent it and you can see what's going. And then to answer Gary's question, where it's like, how do you know you're just digging for dirt and there's nothing but dirt left, right? That's where I think reflection really comes into play. Because you get to step back, stop like digging for a second, look around, see what other people are doing, see what's going on, see if you're in the right area, see if people are striking gold 10 times as much on Facebook than you are on Instagram, like, whatever your digging is metaphorically. So I think those are the answers to those questions. And I just came here to answer the questions because I don't know if anyone was going to. So those are my thoughts on those two questions that were asked.
I am going to put those in the Discord too, so we can really digest them. Denise?
So, to answer Gary's question, I do believe like you have to sometimes be strategic with things. Like failure is data. So when you're continuously keep trying and trying to keep failing, like if you do the same thing, that's the definition of like insanity. So it's more of like, okay, let me step back. Where have I failed? Let me kind of like adjust and strategize, which is what makes most entrepreneurs like be able to be successful because they know that they have to look at where they're not succeeding and what they are succeeding and what they need to grow and develop to be able to continue digging, even if it is at a different angle, even if it is upwards or downwards. So it's more of I feel like it's more of a strategic thing than just be like, oh, giving up. Because I feel like any entrepreneur that is determined, they will not, there's no option but just to keep going. That's not a, like, ending things is not non-existing. As for Nate, um, I I am a fully passionate person, and my parents never taught me boundaries of when to stop working. So I consider myself as a workaholic. And even when I met my husband, he would tell me, like, you need to stop because eventually it gets to a point that you continue because it feels great to like work for me. It just feels great not to sleep and just continue working. But eventually your body is going to say, if you don't stop, you are going to get sick, and I'm going to force you to stop. So it gets to a point that you have to like whether figure out a way to not burn yourself out. And now that I have kids, that happens multiple of times now. So it's more of like I now have to set boundaries with myself of I need to sleep. Like it's not okay to stay until 3 o'clock in the morning networking and like doing all these admin stuff, then wake up at 5, take care of the kids, and then try to work again. It's just we at the end, even though we're passionate about something and we are like this is what it's gonna happen. We need to determine to ourselves like where is that part where we have to take care of ourselves and nourish ourselves because without us, there's no business. Without us, there's no actual passion going on if we stop existing.
Kenny?
Wow. So I kind of want to follow the beat of Elijah, Denise, and Nate, right? So where I kind of intersect with all three of your points is I didn't understand that we could kind of take a step back, take a breather. Because like I just finished stating, my mindset is very much like, all right, like who's gonna stop me, right? Like, so I got to a point where like new projects would come in, right? And I would say, okay, I can handle that, right? And then another one would come in, and then another. I'm like, come on, this is light, right? So I would, write out the strategy, right? No matter what it was, right? Website optimization, right? Wireframing, fleshing out a marketing campaign. But by the end of it, I look at the time, I'm like, wait, it's 2 in the morning. you know, like where'd all that time go? And the next thing you know, I feel just like drained. I feel exhausted, right? Um, And that's why I'm kind of grateful that I met Abby, because attending her retreat, she had this breathwork coach come in and kind of teach us like, hey, like it's all right. We're all business owners, we're all entrepreneurs, right? But taking that time to like readjust and like take that breather could actually result in those breakthrough moments, right? When you come back. Um, and that worked wonders for me. You know what I mean? Like you can still maintain that same level of passion, right? Like Nate was saying. And you can believe in what you're doing wholeheartedly. Um, but taking that space for yourself, I think just prepares you like all the better for the future.
Mary.
Well, I've had burnout before. 10 out of 10, do not recommend it. And I would avoid it at all costs. And I am doing so now. It took me like 2 years to recover. I mean, it's like a very serious, serious thing. And to Gary's point, there's a lot of different ways to burn out, right? There's not just one kind of clear direction on it. So after that, that burnout really taught me a lot. And one of the things that that taught me in the creation of this new company is that, and being in a startup and being in technology, which is a whole new world for me, and a huge learning curve. All of those wellness skills that I've been teaching people, I've been really integrating them more into this life and into this version of business. And I loved the quote or that Kobe Bryant about being striving for perfection. That's what's changed the most. I've been working on this project for 2 years, and we are just now getting a project or a product out. Like it's kind of mind bending. Like another version of me would have been kept going, but just not in the state of mind that I am now. And it's that thing. Yes, I have goals, right? I wanted this company to be $100 million. I want it to be acquired in within 5 years, impact millions of people's of lives through wellness, all of this. Of course, I have goals. But my number one goal of this venture is who I'm becoming along the way. And that has been my main target. It's how am I showing up in my leadership? How am I showing up with my boundaries? How am I dealing with teams in a different way? How am I dealing with myself in a different way, in my own attitude and the way that I'm working? It's like my goal is not to have my schedule full. Actually, I want as little things on my schedule as humanly possible. That's my actual goal, because I don't want to be busy anymore. Busy is not hot. Busy is not sexy to me. Busy says that, like, you know, oh, how are you? Busy, busy, busy. Like, I don't want that to ever be my answer ever again. It's like I want to feel grateful. I want to feel better than ever. That's the answer. And that only comes from me having a goal that says this is really about me, because who knows, we never know at the end of the day what's going to happen in our business, as much as we project and much as people are on the same bar, on the same alignment with us and everything. You just never know where something is going to lead. Like maybe I meet my husband. Great. I don't care. And then that whole thing didn't happen, but I met my husband. Wonderful. Right? It's not necessarily about that, those numbers that are intangible anyways. So that's the thing that I've been most focused on. And I think that's been the healthiest route that I've been on in building a business up into this point. And it keeps me excited, keeps me happy. It doesn't take away from the frustrations of, things that happen in business and dealing with people. But it certainly is, I feel like I could do this for the long haul, as opposed to before where I had a much shorter fuse, as it were.
Sarah.
It's a fun discussion. It's been a long time since I read the book, so I honestly had to look up the synopsis. There's been so many great things, and I probably should have written things down because it's been a very heavy technical day and my brain is done. But the underlying current for me is always like purpose and that piece underneath, and also like the ripple effect that you're making into your community. Your community can be teeny tiny, your neighbor, or it could be like this great big world we live in. And so the things that I will work till 3 a.m. are the things that really I see the benefit to my community I'm working in, right? And those are the things that we will push and we will strive. But the flip side of that, and I love all the burnout talk and everything else because lived it, surviving it, all the things. I heard a quote just the other day that because there's lots of jokes about, people with lots of ambition all went up Mount Everest and a lot of them died there. There's a lot of great jokes about these things, but there's actually some stats now. They didn't used to keep as good a stats as they do now, that 80% of the deaths that happen up there are on the descent. So we have that strive, we have that I'm going for it, right? And we have that adrenaline and all of those other pieces of biology and brain that help us just give her. Now I've done the thing, I've laid my flag, and now I have to come back down. And it is just as dang treacherous to go over there as it was to go there. But now my adrenaline is not keeping me alive. And it blew my mind. I was like, oh, yeah, because in business, we have these ebbs and flows. And quite often in an ebb, it's like, everything sucks. I hate my business and sell it for $1 today and all these things. And it's because we don't have that recurring thought of the benefit and the beauty that we brought to our community. So, and who was it that talked about digging for gold and just missing? What if you just built your community a new swimming pool? What if the flip is I didn't win, but there was something really cool for my community that was built out of it? So, like, I keep a little tab in somewhere. It's in an app somewhere in here, and it's little nuggets of nothing that my clients have dropped that say that my work is beneficial. Because on the down day, when you're walking back down Everest and everything sucks, like today was a data-driven day. It was task over task. But what's the greater thing? Where's the win, right? So, yeah.
Jeremy, and then I'm gonna kick it to Kenny to give us our closing statement, per usual.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was actually gonna
Jeremy.
just pose another quick question. Probably bad timing at the end, but this is my first entrepreneurial venture, about 18 months into it. So I would be curious to hear people's definitions of what burnout is and what it feels like. It's probably very unique person by person. And I wonder if it's the type of thing if you know it when you're in it. Um, but yeah, I'd be very curious to hear someone define it, so I can be prepared in case I encounter it.
I think it's different for each person. And just to kind of tie a bow on it quickly, one thing you can do, this is from Cole Gordon. He has this technique where you do a quantitative analysis and a qualitative analysis at the end of the day. And because I don't want you to ever be in burnout, but he calls it being in a rut, right? Which is like leads to burnout because burnout doesn't happen like in an instant. It's like it slowly kind of creeps up on you, you know? So in there, it's like, are you sleeping 7.5 hours a day? Are you drinking blank ounces of water? It's a lot of physical things, but then also mental, emotional. Like, is there anything bothering me? Can I see the way to my goal, or is it 10x nation? Is there a gap? Do I have selfish and unselfish reasons? And you just kind of honestly rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, ruthlessly honest, because anything below 7 is out of pocket. You don't do anything out of 7 in life, you know? So, and what you'll notice is that if you're consistently hitting like, bad qualitative numbers, your quantitative numbers will mirror it. And that in itself could be curative for some people. They're like, okay, I got to shake out of this, right? And vice versa, right? So that's a cool way to kind of monitor it as you're going versus, am I in it now? And now you got to find a way out or whatever. You don't have to ever get to burnout, and there's people who never burn out ever because they're cognizant of these things and they're mentored in that way or coached or they just kind of figured it out, but it's not a guarantee in business by any means.
I'm gonna put that in the Discord too. So if you want to join that, we can share more thoughts or experiences, personal experiences with burnout or rut. I like that word because it's a little less emotionally charged. Anyway, Kenny likes to close us out with a quote.
Yep, every week, kind of the same deal. So in the theme of grit, for this week's discussion, today's quote comes from Angela Duckworth, who says, "Use your mistakes and your shortcomings as opportunities to get better, never as a reason to quit."
All right, guys. We're here every week. Same link. So I've been having some link issues lately as my computer is about to die. Um, so same link every week. Join the Discord, and I have been working on posting all these recordings to YouTube. So Sarah, it should be there next week if you want to revisit and share the link with people. But also, I did mention it earlier. If you shoot me an email, Abigail@oldwoods.co, I can put your links in the show notes. So, if we go viral, people can find you. Let's hope that happens. Um, anyway, thank you guys. This was awesome, and we'll continue it next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Yep.
you. Bye.
Always a pleasure, Abby. Thank you. Gary, I see you.
Good night, everyone.